Abby here from Ballerinas by Night. Today I'm going to talk about one of those subjects that can be a little bit tricky. That is casting. And I'm not 100% sure how our viewers, how you guys are going to feel about this subject. I don't know how many of you are performing and really have to deal with something like casting. So make sure in the comment section you give me some feedback on topics like this that are a little bit sometimes more what teenagers and students have to deal with as opposed to adults. But I think we do have some adults that perform, so maybe this will help you. Maybe we have some teenagers that are listening. So let's get started. Casting can cause people a lot of anxiety. It can really lead to a lot of broken hearts and hurt feelings, and sometimes it can just be really hard. Let's think about why that is. Why is it so hard? I think one of the biggest things is that we put our value as dancers and sometimes as people into casting. We want to think of ourselves as being a certain ability level, maybe being at a certain place in the hierarchy of things in relation to other dancers. And sometimes casting can bring you down to give you a little dose of reality that doesn't feel too good, where you think, like I thought I was higher level than that. That's not entirely incorrect to think, and we do need to be aware that we have to be realistic with ourselves about where we are and what our ability level is. Sometimes we think, well, if they would just give me this part, then I could work on those things. But if you're a director and you have lots of people to pull from, as a director would hopefully have, you don't always want to put somebody into a role thinking they can improve. That can be really dangerous, and the last thing you want to do is get somebody into a position where they end up getting injured because they're doing things that are really on some level too hard for them or are just not your strengths. Take me, for example. I'm a very powerful dancer. I love big jumps, big turns. Those are my things. I'm not the most ballerina. I'm not the softest. So there's going to be some roles that just are not my strengths. It doesn't mean I'm a bad dancer. In fact, for the roles that use my strengths, I might very well be, the best one for those roles. But if all I'm thinking about is I want X role, whatever it may be, then I lose sight of the fact that, hey, they're telling me that I'm powerful and that I'm going to be really good over here doing this role. You don't want to get too caught up in that. Lots of different roles have difficult things in them. Very few times have I danced any role in a ballet and been like, oh, this is easy. Now, yes, there are times where you're in the corps and you might be holding an arabesque for 5 minutes and it's difficult in a different way, and that's still valuable experience too. Learning to be a good corps member, there's a whole art to dancing in the corps that sometimes we undervalue just because we think, well, it's corps, it's a whole big group on stage, I'm just one of many, I want to be the featured, I want to be out there. But my favorite part of going and watching a ballet is to go and watch the corps. It's fun to watch the principals and the soloists, but if you don't have a strong corps, if you don't have a good corps, a lot of things don't work as well for the whole ballet. There's really never a time when you're put into a role that's not a valuable role. You have to have all the different elements to a ballet, and it may just be a particular time, even if it's a corps piece, that they know this person can go in there and really, be a strong corps member and make the core look really good. If it's different soloist pieces, then it could be, okay, here's one that's more jumping, here's one that's more turning, here's one that's, you know, very soft and light, here's one that's more powerful. And you shouldn't feel like you're being told you're not as good just because you feel like there's one role that you want and you don't get it, because it might just not be your strength or your best thing. Now, if there is a time where you know the situation, you really do feel like, well, I think I would fit into a role, and for whatever reason you really feel like somehow you just weren't good enough for it, even then, you know, take a look back, go, okay, what does that role require? What is the one thing that might need? I mean, if I really wanted to do a role that had a lot of turns, and then I would make sure that I could go do all of those turns. You know, I would practice them all the time, make sure, okay, I know that this is a turning variation, so, you know, I'm gonna show that I can do those. There might be something that requires a lot of flexibility, so make sure that you're stretching. It might be acting, and if it is acting, then you really need to make sure that, okay, even when I'm just in class, I'm gonna do all of these class combinations with a lot of expression. Just different things like that. You know, try and take the elements that you really like, that you think the variation requires, and work on them ahead of time. But again, you have to be realistic with yourself. You know, I'm not Miss Soft Ballerina. You know, there are certain things that just aren't ever going to look the best on me, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're not a good dancer. It doesn't mean, you know, that you are not valuable to the production, because I can pretty much guarantee you any director that's casting you is thinking, yes, this person is valuable. They're dancing in my ballet. I need them. But you need to make sure you value whatever role you're given. And, you know, any role can be a lot of fun. Even if you've done the same thing before, that's a great opportunity to get to go back and make it even stronger, make it even better. You know, you're not fumbling around with choreography so much, so hey, now you can really show your stuff. So basically, I think casting has a lot to do with our personal outlook on things. And the better our outlook, the more fun the whole thing is going to be for everybody. And most of the time, you know, we have to really like keep sight of the fact that, one, if you're getting a chance to perform, there are a lot of people out there that want that and don't have it. And if you have that opportunity close to you, I really want you to know that, because I have a lot of people very close to me that would love to be performing and don't have an avenue to do that. And I feel so incredibly lucky that I'm getting to perform. So lucky that, you know, it's the last thing on my mind is like, oh, am I gonna, you know, get some certain role? I get to go out on stage in a pretty costume, and if you're performing, you do too. And not everybody has that. So just keep that in mind, keep that perspective. Make sure that you're just not being too hard on yourself, not being too critical of yourself. Be realistic, you know what you are. That's healthy, but it's not, don't make it a situation where you put your own self-worth into the cast list, because it can make you really frustrated. It can burn you out. It can hurt some of your relationships with people when, if you feel like somebody gets cast over you and they shouldn't, and that can harbor some bad feelings. And it's really not worth it. It's just not. You know, you have to love to dance, and for that to be the biggest, best thing, and let that really drive you and drive what you're doing. So if you're performing and if you just had some casting recently, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you are. Were you happy with it? Were you not? Have you had some problems? Have you had some concerns? Or maybe you had some real triumphs. You know, sometimes it goes the other way and you get something that you're like, you know, this is the most amazing thing that I got cast in exactly what I wanted. And that's always, you know, a happy time. I think every director feels like if they could make that be how everybody feels, that's what they would want to do. But, you know, you only have so many parts to go around, and directors are doing the best they can to make sure they're putting on the best production they can. So cut them some slack if you did get frustrated about something, because, you know, it's always going to be a happy thing. In a couple months, we're going to be out performing on stage, and it's going to be great. And hopefully if you had any anxiety about the casting, it will be over by then, and you will have really enjoyed your role and can get out there and really just have fun and enjoy. So that's all I have for right now. Make sure you check out our blog, ballerinasbynight.blogspot.com. Make sure you come find us on Facebook, Ballerinas by Night on Facebook. We're getting some more people there. I'm trying to develop a couple of like technique videos next. So I want to do a turn technique and some tips for adagio coming up pretty soon. So look for those. Bye!